So we are back to look at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so 6. What is 6 saying? 6 says life and death is inevitable. Life and death is inevitable. Also, well, if you live, you must die. If you die, it means you have lived. All right. If you live, you must die. And if you die, it means you have lived. Okay. So, under that, you underline life and death. Okay. When you underline life and death, you point your arrow downward in the second line. The third line, you write your S1. So you have life and death as our S1. And then we have is inevitable. Under that structure, you underline is. And when you underline is, you point your arrow down on the second line, the third line, you write your V1. So we have life and death is inevitable. It is therefore wrong of you to see life and death are inevitable. If you say that, it means your S1 has taken V1. All right. So we go to example 7. Example 7 says, pen and paper is there for you to write. Pen and paper is there for you to write. So if you have pen, if you have paper, you must have pen. If you have pen, it means you have paper. The two of them go hand in hand. It's not possible for you to write without one of them. So pen and paper is there for you to write. So under that structure, you underline pen and paper all together, and then you point your arrow down on the second line. The third line, write your S1. And then we have the structure is there for you to write. Under that structure, you underline is. And when you underline is, you point your arrow down on the second line, the third line, write your V1. So we have pen and paper as our S1, and it has taken is as V1. All right. Pen and paper gives the impression of only one unit. They are one. Pen, paper. You want to write. If you have pen, can you write with pen alone? You cannot. You can never. So you need a paper. And if you have a paper, can you write without a pen? You cannot. So the two of them are one. So the take is. So we go to example 8. Example 8 says, your cup and saucer has broken. Your cup and saucer has broken. Under that structure, cup and saucer, teacups, all those small teacups, and their saucer. Your cup and saucer has broken. So under that structure, you underline cup and saucer all together. You buy them together. When you go to the market and you want to buy, they use cup and saucer together. So we have cup and saucer. Your cup and saucer has broken. So you underline cup and saucer. When you underline cup and saucer, you point your arrow downward in the second line. The third line, you write your S1. So cup and saucer is our S1. And then we have the structure as broken. Under that structure, you underline has. And when you underline has, you point your arrow downward in the second line. The third line, you write your V1. So that's our example 8. We go to, it is therefore wrong of you to say your cup and saucer have broken. If you say that, it means your S1 has taken V2. All right. Example 7. Let me look at example 7 again. Pen and paper is there for you to write. If you say, so pen and paper is our S1, and then we have is as our V1. Therefore, it is wrong of you to say pen and paper are there for you to write. If you say that, it means your S1 has taken V2. I didn't say that. I've said it now. So we have your cup and saucer have broken. Where we have our cup and saucer as S1, and it has taken her as a V1 as V1. It is therefore wrong of you to say your cup and saucer have broken. If you say that, it means your S1 has taken V2. Therefore, the correct form is your cup and saucer has broken. That is how we have it. We go to example 9. Example 9 says, cup and saucer is there on the table. Cup and saucer is there on the table. So you underline cup and saucer here. And when you underline cup and saucer, you point your arrow downward in the second line. The third line, you write your S1. Then we have the structure is there on the table. Under is there on the table. You underline is. And then in the second line, your arrow points downward. In the second line, the third line, you write your V1, all right? So it is wrong of you to say your cup and saucer. It is wrong of you to say cup and saucer are there on the table. So the correct form is cup and saucer is there on the table. So we go to our example 10, which is of course the last one. The last one says Gari and sugar is good for lunch. Gari and sugar is good for lunch. That is cassava flakes. Dry cassava flakes, okay? Cassava flakes taken with water and most of the time with sugar. So gari, that's what we call gari in Africa, cassava. Okay, they take it, they mill it, and when they mill it, they drain the water. When they drain the water, they put it on fire, they dry it, how do I put it? They roast it. When they roast it, after the roasting, it becomes very dry. Okay, that is a way of preserving it. You keep it at home for years, nothing happens to it. So gari and sugar is good for lunch. So you underline gari and sugar there because there's no way you can drink gari and enjoy it without sugar. Some people take it without sugar, but they usually go hand in hand with sugar. So gari and sugar is good for lunch. People always like taking gari and sugar in the afternoon. Okay, when we come to review, we are going to say something about. So gari and sugar is good for lunch. Under that structure, you underline gari and sugar all together. And then in the second line, you point your arrow downward, and in the third line, you write your S1. So gari and sugar is our S1 there. Then we have the structure is good for lunch. Under that structure, you underline is, and when you underline is, your arrow points downward in the second line. And the third line, you write your V1. So we have gari and sugar as our S1. It has taken our A's as our V1. Therefore, it is wrong of you to say gari and sugar are good for lunch. The correct form remains gari and sugar is good for lunch. So that is what we have for you today under our subject verb, that is grammatical concord. Subject verb agreement. S1 takes V1 and S2 V2 takes SV takes V2. Exceptional case 2. Okay, that is where there are some structures that do not go hand in hand, that defy this rule for some reason. Okay, so that is what we have for you today. Thank you very much for your attention. To meet again in the next 24 hours right from B Telluride.